I ranked the top 10 UFL quarterbacks in the 2024 season, and you are not going to want to miss this. I have a lot of controversial decisions on here, as well as at number 1, I put a guy that you may not be expecting. You're watching another episode of the Rough 'Em Up podcast. Good Roughnecks fans, and welcome back to the Rough 'Em Up podcast. I'm your host, Colin Watkins. It is great to see you again. I hope you're doing well. Sorry that I have not been posting, or I haven't posted recently in the past couple of weeks. I decided to take a little break from the channel after the UFL championship game, because at that point, me and Arlington, for like 12 weeks in a row, were making episodes every single week. So I decided, take a little break, go find a summer job, make some money before I go back to school. And here I am. I go back to school in just a few weeks, and what better way to get my mind all going for the school year than to talk about some UFL football. Now, what better way than to come back than to rank the top 10 quarterbacks of the 2024 UFL season. This is going to be a controversial list. I did the same exact thing for the XFL last year. Y'all really seemed to enjoy it. I know I enjoyed it. It was really fun, reminiscing on all of the great moments and the great players and disappointing players of this UFL season that we just had. So before we get to number 10, please like and subscribe. Even though it's not the UFL season, I still do have a lot of off-season content planned for y'all. I'm just trying to space it out enough so I don't sputter out at the end. But let's get into it. So 10 quarterbacks. We're going to start with the number 10 and end at number 1. And just because someone's ranked number 10, it's like a good thing. I know there's only 8 teams, but I'm still putting 10 quarterbacks. Because first of all, 10 is just better for everyone. People love the number 10. And 2, like there are some guys on here that I would rank at number 10. So I'm curious what you think about this list. Tell me in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. Tell me. I'm curious what y'all think about it. So at number 10, I have Matt Corral for the Birmingham Stallions. And this was a tough decision to pick a guy who I thought was the 10th best quarterback in the league. And I settled on Corral because, first of all, his expectations were so high. He was expected to really be the starter in Birmingham, even though Adrian Martinez, we were hearing great things about him going into the season. But Corral, in 6 games, he threw 58% completion rate, 494 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He led the Stallions to the USFL Conference Championship. Really, he did. I mean, he came up clutch in that game. He went 9 for 11, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. If y'all don't remember that game, I know it was maybe a little over a month ago. Corral won the Stallions that game. If Matt Corral did not go in against the Michigan Panthers, the Panthers would have been in that UFL championship game. So I think that alone makes Matt Corral a top 10 quarterback in the league. And he also did win them the game week 1 in Arlington. He won them that game too. So whenever he got the chances, he was good. He was really good, but he just didn't get a lot of chances. When you have Adrian Martinez doing what he was doing, Matt Corral sort of took the back seat. But next season, are we going to see Matt Corral come back? And is he going to start for the Birmingham Stallions? Probably. I'd say so. I mean, he's a great option. He can obviously perform pretty well. He knows the offense. He knows what to do. Hey, and he finished the season with an 81 passer rating. It's not too bad considering how much he played. But Matt Corral, he would have been a lot higher on this list. If he played more, you're going to be hearing a lot of that. But Matt Corral, number 10. At number 9 is probably our first controversial pick of this list. I have Bryce Perkins from the Michigan Panthers. And now he only played 4 games. I understand that. But look what he did during those 4 games. 78% completion rate, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 181 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns in just 4 games. And I'm a big fan of Bryce Perkins. He's probably my favorite on that Michigan Panthers team. And he was really he was a spark for that team. He was a big spark. He had NFL experience with the Rams. That came through a lot. He just looked really comfortable in the pocket. And he was a Virginia Cavalier. And he was with the Rams, like I said, and he was called in the middle of the season when E.J. Perry went on the IR, and E.J. Perry, by the way, is not on this list. I think all of these guys are a lot better than E.J. Perry was. I'm not an E.J. Perry fan, and it sucks because with Bryce Perkins, there wasn't a large sample size, but when he did play, I think he played and was more valuable for the Michigan Panthers than Matt Corral was for the Birmingham Stallions. Yes, Corral did the USFL Conference Championship thing, but Perkins really filled in when E.J. Perry got injured. Perkins came in and he led a great Michigan Panthers offense, along with Danny Etling. We'll get to him later. But yeah, he really good. A 78% completion, 78% completion rate. That's really good. You're going to win football games when you're doing that. He was accurate. He made good decisions. He finished the year with an 110 passer rating. That alone, if he only played more games, if he was the starter, and if he played more than Danny Etling, if he didn't get injured, Bryce Perkins would probably, he'd finish in a top 5 spot on this list, but sadly, due to the injury and just due to the quarterback situation in Michigan, he didn't get as many chances as he probably should have. But again, that was just all Mike Nolan's decision. He won Coach of the Year, so he obviously knows what he was doing. But Bryce Perkins, one of my favorites. I really would love to see him back in this league. But yeah, number 9, Bryce Perkins. At number 8, we have the home team guy of the channel. We have Reed Sinnett. Oh, it hurt putting him at number 8, but I just had a hard time trying to fit him any better than this. And I know his talent is not a number 8 in the league type guy, but just as we know, we're Roughnecks fans here. Y'all heard me in Arlington the whole year. I think Tom Brady in this offense would have struggled because it was just horribly managed and horribly coached. I'm saying it right now. So in 10 games, Sinnett 62.6 completion percentage, 1,136 passing yards, 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So that tells me he threw a lot of yards. He cracked 1,000 passing yards, but 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions is not a good ratio of touchdowns to interceptions at all. That's telling me, red zone's bad, first of all, and no big playability. Those two things, Reed Sinnett just was a victim of the Roughnecks' inability to score in the red zone and to have a lot of deep, powerful plays, large chunk plays. The Roughnecks did not do that, and it shows in Reed Sinnett's stats. He finished the season with a 79.5 passer rating. Not bad, but not good. He truly was the only bright spot at times on this Roughnecks offense, and I think y'all could agree with me on that. But when Mark Thompson was not in the game, and when he was injured or whatever, or when Justin Hall was not doing his thing until later, Reed Sinnett, he seemed like the best guy at the time. And looking back, I'm glad we started Sinnett when we did. We could have put in Nolan Henderson a little earlier, but Jarrett Guarantano, it was a horrible decision to say that he should have been the starter. Guarantano, not starter material. He wasn't even close to making this list. But Reed Sinnett, he did good considering the weird offseason he had. He was named QB3 at the beginning of the season. He broke his foot with San Antonio the year before in the XFL. So I'm glad that he made the best with the situation he was given. He's also a super nice guy. Reed Sinnett is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Not even just in football, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in general. So he's a great guy. He's a great quarterback. I think he's just victim to a horrendous offense. So I hope Reed, I hope you continue to play. Just stay away from this Houston Roughnecks team until we get our coaching situation figured out. So, number 8, Reed Sinnett. He was good, but in the whole scheme of things, in the whole scheme of the league, he doesn't even crack close to some of these other guys. Next is a guy that I was actually going to flip-flop with Reed Sinnett between number 7 and number 8, but I finally decided at number 7, I'm putting Case Cookus from the Memphis Showboats, and just so disappointing, y'all. So disappointing. Going into this season, I heard Case Cookus with Coach DeFilippo in Memphis. I thought they were making the playoffs. I thought they were going to challenge the Stallions, and we actually got the exact opposite of that. Yes, they beat the Roughnecks in the toilet bowl, but you don't want to be in the toilet bowl situation. But Case Cookus in 8 games, 61.5 passer completion rating, 989 passing yards, 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, a 83.1 passer rating. Again, it's very similar to Reed. We know Case Cookus is a talented quarterback, but it's almost just like I don't know what that was. It's almost just like Case Cookus couldn't perform in a DeFilippo offense. For one reason or another, he just couldn't perform. Well, and two, we gotta admit, his O-line was probably the worst in the league. He was getting torn up behind that O-line. They couldn't block anyone. Even I could have sacked Case Cookus this past season. So that did not help him at all. And that this situation with the O-line is going to be pretty much identical to this next guy on this list. But yeah, 8 games, 61.5 completion rate, 989 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 83 passer rating. We know he's capable of more. We know he's not a quarterback that's going to complete 61% of his passes. We know he's not. We know he's going to get higher than an 83 passer rating. That's what he did in the USFL of Philadelphia. But whether you attribute it to better competition, mix that with a bad team, and this is sort of what you get. So I don't know. Case Cookus, he never passed for more than 1 touchdown in a game, which is really disappointing. But I do think, though, he performed. I'd rather have Case Cookus than Reed Sinnett. And Case Cookus was on an equally bad team as the Houston Roughnecks. So therefore, considering that I'd rather have a guy like Case Cookus than Reed Sinnett, I think Case Cookus, considering what the cards he was given, had a better season, which is why I put him above Reed Sinnett. But again, I was really going back and forth on this pick, and if y'all disagree with me on this, I totally understand, because, heck, I could have probably made a flip right before recording and been just fine with it. So Case Cookus and Reed Sinnett are sort of in the same bubble with each other. Talented guys, but bad situation and just a bad year of football. But Case Cookus, I think, is a little more talented than Reed Sinnett when it comes to spring football. So Case Cookus, number 7. Coming in at number 6, we have, in my opinion, the most disappointing quarterback of the UFL season, and that's Jordan Ta'amu of the DC Defenders. This was sort of a no-brainer putting Ta'amu here. Let me just read you the stats, and then we can go from there. So in 10 games, he had a completion rate of 57.5, 1,846 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions with a 81.9 passer rating. Stats look good, but that passer rating is really the telltale story of Jordan Ta'amu this past season. 81.9 rating. He was just disappointing. He just came off a year where he won XFL Offensive Player of the Year. He led the DC Defenders to a 9-1 regular season record. Led them to a championship game where they lost to the Arlington Renegades, but that's besides the point. And then so many high hopes for this guy going into the season, and I love Jordan Ta'amu. I remember him in 2020 with the St. Louis Battlehawks, and I don't want to say that this was his worst year since the USFL Tampa Bay Bandits stint, but I'd say it's about the same. This is his worst year since 2022 with the Tampa Bay Bandits. And I don't know, maybe So if you look at Tiamu's spring football history, he did really well in St. Louis in 2020. Then 2022, he was with the Tampa Bay Bandits, did really bad. Okay, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know what any of these effects are. I got a new computer. I'm so sorry. 2022 with the Tampa Bay Bandits, it was a bad year. And and then in 2023 with the DC Defenders, he had a really good year winning Offensive Player of the Year. And then this year, again, a off year. So maybe next year we're due for a great Jordan Ta'amu season, but he just struggled, I think, without having Abram Smith in the backfield, without having a lot of the weapons at wide receiver like he had in 2023. Oh, pair that with a bad O-line like he had with the Tampa Bay Bandits, and you get a Jordan Ta'amu who's very limited. He turns the ball over a lot. He had a decent season. That's why I have him at number 6. I think he's been better than all these other quarterbacks, but he's just most disappointing because with the expectations that he had, I think we all expected a little bit more from Jordan Ta'amu, which is why I have him at number 6. Going into the top 5, we have... Ooh, it's going to be a interesting pick here. We have at number 5, Danny Etling for the Michigan Panthers. Let me explain myself before you go into the comments. Let me explain myself. So, in 7 games played, he threw for 786 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, for an 82.7 passer rating. Stats don't jump off the board. They don't. I admit that. But what I looked at and what I sort of made this list going through the season. And what made me put Danny Etling so high is the role that he played for the Michigan Panthers. Think about it. Think about it. Sure, I gave a lot of credit to Bryce Perkins. Bryce Perkins is awesome. But when E.J. Perry dropped out, when he got injured, whatever, who came in and really, in a very sneaky way, made the Michigan Panthers an elite team? Danny Etling. He did. He was the quarterback when they were winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. And you can tell me, Colin, his stats sucked. His 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. But I think the field general attributes that Etling had make him a top 5 quarterback in the league. He could run. He had a rocket of an arm. He could pass it to Wes Hills, give it to Wes Hills. If they wanted to pass it, you knew he had an arm. He managed the game so well. And really, I'm just going to say, if E.J. Perry was quarterback for the Michigan Panthers, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. They wouldn't have. Danny Etling, along with Bryce Perkins, but Danny Etling is a huge reason why the Michigan Panthers made the playoffs in the first place, which is why he's an NFL quarterback too. He played in the NFL. He's a NFL caliber quarterback, and it showed. Danny Etling, he's a number 5. He's top 5 quarterback in the league. I guarantee you, put him on any team, and he's going to lead and manage that team well enough to at least get some success. And two, think about this. One more thing before I move on to the next guy. Jordan Ta'amu, he put up better stats than Danny Etling. But who had bigger expectation? Jordan Ta'amu did. Danny Etling, I only heard a few stuff about him. A few things about him during the offseason. None of that, no one cared about Danny Etling. No one really talked about him. No one was expecting for him to take the Michigan Panthers to play the Stallions and almost win. Nobody did. So for that reason, I'm giving him his flowers. He is a top 5 quarterback. He was a top 5 quarterback in the UFL this past season. Mic drop. Tell me in the comments down below. What do you think of that? I hope I gave my points well enough. Give me your points in the arguments, or give me your arguments in the comments. I want to hear it. Sliding into number 4. You're going to realize that joke as soon as I say who this is. Sliding into number 4, we have Chase Garbers of the San Antonio Brahmas. And we're starting to get into elite territory now. I feel like the UFL quarterbacks this past season were very top-heavy. you had a lot of really elite quarterbacks, a few elite quarterbacks, and then the rest were mediocre to bad. So we're starting to get into the really good guys this past season, but Chase Garbers, what an up and down season he had. He finished with a 90.3 passer rating, and in 5 games, he put up 765 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This is not including, all these stats, by the way, are not including postseason stats, so keep that in mind. I just wanted to do that because, I don't know, postseason's a different animal. We can talk about the top postseason quarterbacks in spring football history if y'all want, but some weeks it felt like Chase Garbers was the number one quarterback in the UFL. It did. Sometimes the guy was just unstoppable in the A.J. Smith offense. A.J. Smith had a lot of fun with this guy. Chase Garbers, he couldn't throw the ball down the field, but oh boy, was he a surgeon cutting up defenses, short yards to middle yardage situations. He was a surgeon. He was cutting open every single offense. He could place a ball on a dime to a receiver on a slant. And the Brahmas really benefited from having Chase Garbers. And he injured his wrist, I think week 3 or so, against the Memphis Showboats, the same game that Destroying got hurt in. And we thought he was done for the year, but he came back at the very end, and he did really well. Chase Garbers, besides the slide in the championship game, I know that was very controversial. A lot of people are not happy with Chase Garbers. Even I'm like, okay, come on, dude, come on. I think Chase Garbers, a very talented quarterback. He surpassed my expectations. I was a Quentin Dormady guy going into the season, but I think Wade Phillips and A.J. Smith, Peyton Party, all of our guys over in San Antonio, they made the great and right decision to have Chase Garbers in. He was really impressive. Sometimes he felt borderline unstoppable, but at the end of the day, I think some defenses figured out that he couldn't throw deep, so they just protected the front part of the field, and then they lose a championship. But regardless, number 4, Chase Garbers. And at number 3, so we are going to our top 3 quarterbacks of the UFL season. If you did your math and did process of elimination, you know who these are, but still, I think at number 1, I have a pretty controversial decision. At number 3, we have A.J. McCarron of the St. Louis Battlehawks. He was actually my number 1 pick for the XFL one I did last year. Because he had a great season with St. Louis last year, and he had a great season in St. Louis again this year. In 8 games, he threw 1,581 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions, a 94.6 passer rating. That alone right there is an elite level quarterback. He was just a typical A.J. McCarron. A great leader, a great passer. He knew what the defense was doing. He knew where to place the ball. He could read coverages. He did it all very well. I'm so glad he decided to come back to this league. But it sucks because, once again, the St. Louis Battlehawks couldn't get it done. A.J. McCarron couldn't get it done again. It's the same story as last year. They're so close to hitting the promised land, so close to making the playoffs in 2023, so close to making the championship game in 2024, and they just choke it. They get so close, but they can't finish the job. And Coach Beck, whoever is running the St. Louis Battlehawks, they gave McCarron the weapons. But McCarron, first of all, he got his ankle injury against the Stallions. That just ruined him. He was not the same quarterback after that ankle injury. So you just can't help but wonder, if A.J. McCarron did not get that ankle injury, how would he have finished the season? And would the St. Louis Battlehawks have made the championship game? We'll never know. I think yes, McCarron would have done awesome, and I think the Battlehawks would have made the championship game, but we'll never know. But number 3, A.J. McCarron. Going to our top 2, I've put for the number 2 quarterback of the UFL season, the MVP of the league himself, Adrian Martinez of the Birmingham Stallions. In 10 games, he put up 1,750 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That's not even including his rushing stats. Let's just say, I didn't put down the rushing yardage for you because there's one stat you need to know. He led the league in rushing yards as a quarterback. Let me tell you what, that's a big reason why he won the UFL MVP over a guy like AJ McCarron or Luis Perez. But oh man, Adrian Martinez, what a guy. What a guy. He was so fun to watch. And we had even sparks of what he was going to be in week 1 against the Arlington Renegades. Because I remember watching it. I remember watching it in my dorm room on my TV. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's fast. This Adrian Martinez guy's faster than the running backs out there. And sure enough, the rest of the season, it was pretty much that. But his passing was also really, really good, too. Let's not discredit anything he did through the air. 15 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. You don't do that off luck. You do that from skill and good coaching from Skip Holtz. So, Adrian Martinez, it was either him or Luis Perez for the number 1 spot, but I'll tell you why Luis Perez gets my number 1 spot for the best quarterback in the UFL. But, oh man, Adrian Martinez, what else is there to say about him? He won the UFL Championship MVP. He won the regular season MVP. He's going to be on an NFL roster now because of Skip Holtz. But Adrian Martinez, talented guy. It's just Skip Holtz who unlocked his true potential. You love to see it. You love to see it. I don't think anyone was expecting Adrian Martinez to win the UFL MVP. No one was. No one. And if you say you were, you're lying. I know you're lying. So, Adrian Martinez, phenomenal season. It was so fun to watch him, and he deserves a number 2 and possibly even a number 1 spot if you want to make some arguments here. But number 2, Adrian Martinez. Finally, coming in at number 1, the Spring King himself from the Arlington Renegades, Luis Perez. It was between him and Martinez for the number 1 spot. It was, as y'all probably guessed. And I know a lot of people will pick Adrian Martinez as the number 1 guy. But I think when you set apart team success, I know I use team success sort of in the prior parts of this list, but I think when you compare Perez and Martinez, you can't really compare the two based on the success of their team. I think Perez, with the 10 games, 2,307 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a 99.4 passer rating, which technically is better than Adrian Martinez's by 0.3, I believe. I think what he was able to do through the air gets him the number 1 spot. I think his decisions with the ball deserves him the number 1 spot. Adrian Martinez, yes, he put up a great season. He put up a great season, but Perez was he was Mr. Consistent all 10 games. He started all 10, and you knew the Perez you were getting all 10. You were. He got unlucky. The team got unlucky. The Arlington Renegades got so unlucky. It wasn't Perez's fault. He is in the best shape of his career. He's in the best playing shape of his career, I should say. If you look, ever since he started playing in 2019, this has been his best year by far. And for all the people out there saying that Luis Perez might be retiring, he could retire, if Perez retires, there's going to be a huge mistake. This man deserves to be on a competitive team, and he deserves to win another spring football championship. He should have almost won the MVP. If the Renegades were just as good as the Stallions, I think Perez would have won the UFL MVP. Someone get this man on a team where he can finally win that elusive MVP. Give him everything he deserves. He is the Spring King after all. Yeah, I think he had a better year than Martinez, but just by a little bit because I like passing. Martinez, he got it done on the ground. Perez got it done through the air, but we're talking about quarterbacks here, so I'm giving Perez the number 1 spot. But again, tell me in the comments down below. I could easily switch these two, but just something tells me Perez, I think the consistency that he had is unmatched. He was an elite level quarterback this year. So number one, Luis Perez. But folks, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this rankings video. I'm going to be having more rankings videos out, maybe more Roughnecks related, maybe not Roughnecks related. You're going to have to wait and see. But folks, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any UFL or Roughnecks content. Folks, I'll see you next time, and go Roughnecks, baby.